Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, That Creepy Reading, and today I got a quick bonus video for you. No, this won't affect my upload schedule. There should be a Creepypasta out tomorrow, if not Tuesday, and then there also should be a Crappypasta on Wednesday and a 10 American horrifying lynchings on Friday. It probably will change name between now and then. But nonetheless, we got all the scripts ready, we just gotta narrate them out and edit, blah blah blah. But this is more school stories / rants of fitting music. This is basically just a quick video because I recently am no longer going to high school and I kind of been reflecting on a lot of the stories I had back there. And today, I kind of want to share my experiences with that girl. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I got some insane fucking stories, and it's gonna be kind of hilarious, so please just stick through to the end, because I do have to give you a bit of backstory for you guys to understand what the hell I'm talking about when it comes to that girl. Now, to explain what that girl is, it's that girl that always has a group of guys and like maybe 2 or 3 friends who are also female, and there's always a large group of guys, and she always tries to please all of them, without really giving anyone any meaningful contact. And when I say meaningful, I'm not saying like, oh man, grab her booty, yo. I'm talking more about, you know, friendship, actually being a person beyond face value, being more than just a really happy person, and actually being there for someone beyond their happy moments. Let me tell you about someone who, well, 2 people. First off, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the girl who went to my school, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the girl I used to hang out online, because I had 2 groups of friends at this point in time. I had my online friends, and then I had my school people who I'd sometimes hang out with, because I have no friends because I am fucking creepy. So, that being said, let's dive into school. When I went to school, every morning, I rode the bus. And if you don't know anything about the bus, I had a bus driver who was kind of like Miss Crabtree from South Park, who would always yell at the kids to shut the hell up because we'd constantly yell penis at her. And don't get me wrong, a lot of students gave her shit. And I really don't blame her for being Miss Crabtree from, you know, South Park. But she would always get to the school very early. I'd have to wake up at 5, the bus would get here at about 6:10, and I'd arrive at the school about 6:30. School started at about 7:45, meaning I literally had an hour and 15 minutes to do nothing. Later in the years, I actually started bringing my laptop, but before then, I used to hang out with a few people. There was my buddy, I don't think I remember his name, I feel so bad for this, but we just kind of called him Midget, because he was like smaller and he had like this high-pitched voice. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't really like a little person, but we just called him Midget, and he was actually like running with it, and he was always like a little like sexualized asshole who would always hang out with me, kind of like a little imp. And he'd be like, man, I kind of want to put my fingers in her booty hole. I would only hang out with him because, again, no one else would, and he was kind of funny to be around. And he was really more like one of those 4chan people who did not quite go as far as 4chan did. And then there was another friend of mine who always wore these glasses. I can't remember his name, but I think I remember calling him Ed, because he had this weird logic that he would always use. I'm pretty sure he was pretty heavily autistic, but he always talked like a higher-pitched Ed from Ed, Edd n Eddy, and he always brought candy on the bus. And if you did some weird shit, like say, like, I like walruses in like a weird voice, he'll give you like some candy. And, you know, again, free candy is free candy, especially in the morning when you could use the sugar and you are broke because you forgot to ask for lunch money. Anywho, you would get to school, your friends would go their own separate ways, and you would have nothing to do unless you really wanted to hang out with people you didn't like. One of the people who I hung out with, who I didn't really like, was this girl. She was a furry, usually dressing in black attire, jeans that are like way too skinny, and she was thin and had this body type that a lot of people who were my age really would have liked. And again, I'm an asexual. I'm only simply stating what other people probably would have liked about her, because I can't tell you why people liked her. Don't get me wrong, it's not like she was a genuinely bad person, at least not by intention, but she had this fakeness to her. Again, she was a furry who always was spunky, happy, and willing to be, again, that bright sunshine in the morning. But that was all she was. She never really offered any other deep, meaning, personal relationships with people. If you were to go up to her and say, hey, I'm feeling a little bad, she'd be like, oh, hugs! And then she would hug you, and then fuck off and go talk to the other 20 dudes who want her attention. Now, mind you, this is the nerd crowd. A lot of the people who are in this crowd are either hipsters or people who play way too many video games. When I say way too many video games, I mean like they are literally going morbidly obese. And yeah, basically the dudes who decide to bring their Nintendo DS to classroom and start playing while the teacher tries to give a lecture. Again, I love video games, but Jesus Christ, please just leave the Nintendo DS at home unless you're planning on playing it on the bus or during lunch, because those are really the only two times you should be playing it. Nonetheless, I'm off topic. This girl always had a group of 20 dudes and like 3 girls hanging out with her at all times, especially in the morning. There's always this giant ass crowd right in front of the school, and she was at the center of it. People were biting for her attention. And again, I would just kind of sit there, not really give a shit. I would say, hello, hello. And there's this one time where she pulled me like, hey, look at my art. And she had like a bunch of furry art on her phone. It's like, look, I'm a furry. Lol. And I was like, okay. But she never really would talk to the same dude for more than 10 seconds. Unless you happen to be dating her. Now, here's the funny little trick. She was never out of a relationship. Never. If she would break up, literally the next day, she would be in a new relationship with a new person. And again, I'm not saying, oh man, she's a slut. I'm saying there's a reason for that. Because she surrounds herself with people who desperately want to know her more, because she is a female who is also a nerd who also doesn't look bad. And because of this, if she got into a relationship and started getting to know someone more and then it just didn't work out, she would go on Facebook, say, man, this person sucks. And then like 50 dudes would be like, oh man, I'm here for you. And then the one dude who she decides to give attention would be her next boyfriend the next day, and she would be all happy. There was no period where this girl was sad. And that's what I like to call a that girl. That girl is the girl who has no personality because she's unwilling to, again, just have a few friends and lay back for a little bit. See, when you're in high school, you should really enjoy that and not be looking for a relationship, because if you are, you're gonna forget that you have a lot of amazing friends and a lot of amazing things you can do. And if you don't have any friends, just get some. I mean, I'm not saying that's easy, trust me, I know that, but having friends and being able to hang out and do stuff together is a hell of a lot more fun than being in a relationship, especially at that age where you don't have money, and having sex is not really the best idea because babies and blurg and whatever. You know, again, just look for a relationship. Look for a friendship. It will be a lot better. But she was always in a relationship, had like no friends, and she just went from one relationship to the next. And she surrounded herself with all these guys, and basically there was no really talking to her. If you were sad one day, she wouldn't give a shit. She doesn't need to give a shit. You don't need to comfort one friend when you got 30 more who desperately just want to listen to you talk. And that's what I'm saying. If you are one of these girls, I'm not saying you're bad people or even that you have no personality, but when you only show one side of you and you always surround yourself with 40 people and you're never willing to give, again, these people, just some specific people attention and some others not, or be able to schedule, people out, then I have to say, please just focus on a few people. Now that you know that backstory, let me tell you that girl of my online friend group. Before I was a proper YouTuber, I used to run a YouTube channel called That Brony Show, which really was just excerpts from my internet radio station days. I used to run an internet radio station, and I used to know quite a bit of people. And if you know anything about any fandom, if someone says that they can do art and they are female and they look semi-attractive, then they will always have a group of people. That group of people will expand until they meet popular people. I happen to be in that more popular people group. She knew a lot of people who were popular in the community. She wasn't popular herself, don't by any means, but she drew art, and a lot of people in said community liked her because she drew art, or at least they knew of her. And lo and behold, she happens to be one of that girl. Basically, she always surrounded herself with a ton of guys. She always said that she was depressed and she had this abusive home and all of this and that. But again, she would post pictures of herself all the time and people would be like, oh my god, she got hips for days, man. And she would draw people art. Or at least she kind of did. Now, here's the little trick that she would always use. She would always tease people, be like, man, I should totally draw you sometime, lol. And people would be like, oh my god, please do. I will worship you. And people would do that. And they would hang out with her all day, every day, until they got some art, and then they would keep on doing that. And they were always desperately waiting for her boyfriend to no longer be her boyfriend. Now, why don't I tell you about this weird and long-ass story about my experiences with this person. Now, remember, I'm going to keep her anonymous, entirely anonymous. Again, I don't think she's a bad person. I think it's really just a design by omission because, once again, she wasn't anyone you could talk to. Now, a lot of these that girls, again, they don't seem like bad people, and they really are not that bad if you look at them from a inward perspective. But if you zoom out a bit, hanging out with a ton of people, never really giving a shit about anyone else's problems, and always complaining about your own, while also offering art as a reason to still hang out with you, and the possibility of a date because you're always flirty, lol, that makes you a bit of a bad person to me. For example, there's this one time when I came to her, I was like, hey, I'm really depressed, my dog died, this and that, I'm a little worried, and she literally stopped responding to me for 2 days. And she didn't give any reason for it. It was expected that I would not talk to her about it at all forever, and never bring up anything bad about myself because she had, and I quote, such a bad life and a bad home life that you could not bring up anything negative with her. Or, again, she'll have to hibernate, so to speak. Or at least hibernate on you. That doesn't mean she wasn't hanging out with her other friends, because I knew other people hanging out with her. Again, I had a friend who would also hang out for her. I'd be like, hey, mind inviting me to the call? And then he would be like, sorry, man, this person don't want to talk to you. So I was like, all right, whatever, and I'd do my own thing. Which, again, only perpetuated my own depression at the time. So now that we got the type of person this person is out of the way, why don't we bring into the boyfriend story? This boyfriend story was weird because, again, she thought she was one of those artists that hung out with one of the popular people. The popular person in question was a dude who claimed to be the YouTuber DJ Alex S, which, if you don't know, was a popular brony musician of the time. But DJ Alex S was, again, DJ Alex S, and this person was claiming to be him. So a lot of us are like, hey, what do you mean you're this musician? You never told any of us that you were this musician, and you never alluded to this. And the guy would be like, you see, what happened was, you could tell that DJ Alex S's music changed after X song, and that's the time when I had to leave. You see, we used to be roommates. We used to hang out, and then he stole my YouTube channel, and he's just been running with it ever since. But now I make my own music, and I run under this new name. I don't really want him knowing about me, but etc, etc, etc. He would also claim that his mom was like, abusive and keeping him there, not letting him move out, or his like little sister would get into big trouble or something, and just a lot of stuff that was really hard to believe, but you kind of like, yeah, all right, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not going to call him a liar, but you're not going to really necessarily believe him either. But you would always tell him that you did. Then there came the research. You see, I don't like taking things at face value, and especially something that seems that outlandish. Not to mention, I also happened to know DJ Alex S at the time, or at least I knew a friend of his who could easily get a hold of him. Because again, I was a internet radio personality, and I got in interviews like left and right with pretty much anyone in the community I damn well pleased. So, with that being said, I contacted my buddy. I'm going like, hey, do you know this guy? He's like called David S or whatever. And then he basically sends me this message. He's like, oh God, it's this guy again. It's that guy. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, all right, let me bring you into a call. So this guy brings me into a call and we're talking, right? And we're like, he's like telling me all this shit. So apparently this dude used to be this very infamous person who used to pretend to be DJ Alex S. When he first started doing it, it was under very malicious circumstances. As you can tell, he pretended to be a musician and happened to gain the sympathy of a lot of, bronies in the community at the time. And basically he said that he wanted to go to BronyCon and do a face reveal and talk about himself and have this panel. And he said in order to do that, it would cost $20,000. But since he lost his YouTube channel, his job, that he would require funding to help. Now, mind you, like, plane tickets could be like anywhere from, like, again, we're talking about from Canada to New York. And that could easily cost, again, I found some for about $800 a round trip. And I found other, again, if you plan ahead in time, you can find them for pretty cheap. But even then, on the higher end, it will cost $2,000 plus about plus about maybe $300 for the $400 for the hotel, and then you would have to spend a little bit of extra money for food. So you're looking at about $3,500 to $4,000 in order to go to this convention. But he wanted $20,000 to fly down, and everyone believed him at first. And he actually got this fundraising campaign. A lot of this fundraising campaign was led by one of my good friends. If you guys watched Tatstop videos in the past, you may have known of a voice actor called Lisa M. And Lisa M was this interesting person. She was a really nice person. I still talk to her. Well, not really anymore, but I used to talk to her a lot back in the day, and she even gave me a birthday gift, so fuck it. But basically, her and her friends raised money for this guy so he could come over to America and do his thing. That was up until we realized that he was a dirty fucking liar. You see, during this phone call, I actually got DJ Alex S on the phone in this Skype call. Like the guy I was talking to called up Alex, and he was like, "Hey man, what's up?" And he's like, "Hey man, just a quick question. Did you ever have a roommate called David?" And he was like, "Who the fuck's David? I never had a roommate. I still live with my mom." And I was laughing my ass off the entire time, but it was pretty clear. So I basically looked through more, and then it turns out that a lot of other popular people actually called him out, including a rapper in the community and a few other personal friends who gave much evidence to suggest that he was not this, again, musician. I got so much evidence, in fact, that you could prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this person was it. Again, it wasn't like one of those things where, like, oh, it's his word against his word. No, it was like, here's him plotting the fundraising campaign. Here's some Skype conversations saying that he wasn't this person. Here's this and that. Here's this, his talking with the actual DJ Alex S. Here's him with these other musicians. Literally, there was a mountain of evidence that suggested he was not. Now, me wanting to be a good friend. Again, I didn't really like this point. She kind of pissed me off because, again, she didn't want a real relationship with anyone. She didn't want any real friendships. She wanted you to be there when she needed you, and she wanted to discard you whenever you, again, needed her. All she would really do is be a genuinely good artist, and that is it. Especially with her friends. But basically, what caused me to, again, not be able to talk to her anymore wasn't any real falling out. I was worried for her because she was dating a fucking con artist. Now, Nona at the time was like 16, 17 years old, and this person claimed to be 18. However, according to his, again, actual birth date, he was about 28, 29 years old. Now he'd probably be like 32, something like that. And I tried to warn her about this. I was like, person, I really know you don't want to hear this, but please just hear me out. And then I basically copied and pasted all my evidence. I showed the actual screenshots. Again, everything that proved beyond a doubt that this person wasn't who he said he was. Now let's go into Nona and how she reacted to this. Now, a lot of you are going to be like, oh, she probably flipped a nut at you. In order for you to understand her reaction, you're going to really need to know more about her. Her Skype username, at least at the time, was like Master will be like loved and pleased, like cum queen or whatever. And yes, I can honestly tell you that she was indeed a real female. I saw like webcam, and again, this wasn't fake. She has a actual voice. It's not robotic. I've even talked to her mom at one point. Either way, I know that she was who she was, and she had this very fantasy-based lifestyle. A lot of what she liked to be was fantasy-based. She liked the idea of, well, being subservient to someone else. And, well, this Devin or David or whatever person, he always was like, yo, bro, you know, I can totally be the most dominant person ever. And when they would do their badoop on Skype and stuff, they definitely would be in a very master/servant type of relationship. And because of this, she always liked to have this submissive personality, or at least pretend to. Because there were times when she would put her foot down and everyone would know that she was upset, but she was usually upset because people wouldn't give her what she wanted, and what she wanted was people to love her every footstep, people to compliment her, and all this other shit. I should also mention at this time that she was also a classic from Tumblr person. She said that she wouldn't shave for anyone, rather it was armpit hair or pubic hair or whatever, and she said that she would not shower for anyone. So, yes, this is the type of person. Again, with clothes on and all that jazz, she looked, again, like what a lot of people would like for a girl. But her personality basically stunk. Now, knowing that this personality trait is there, this need to be submissive to someone else, there is also this third key story I would like to tell you before we finish the main one. There was this person I used to hang out with before I started that creepy reading channel. His name was Sawyer. At least that's what his online name was. Sawyer would hang out and do his own thing, and basically my buddy was like, hey bro, I know you have a popular internet radio thing, would you mind helping us out with our YouTube channel? Because my friend here, he's like threatening to kick me out, and he's running it like a douchebag, and I know you're successful, and I think that you could definitely help out the YouTube channel. So I come over here, they invite me to all their chats, I'm basically explaining how to make a YouTube channel work, which is consistent upload schedule, and if you're going to do a group channel, always have scheduled out dates. For example, if my buddy John was going to do, I don't know, a Let's Play, he should do a new Let's Play every Monday. If this other guy was going to do a podcast, do the podcast every Wednesday. If you're going to do like some sort of scripted thing, do it on Fridays. Again, just make sure you have something scheduled out, and usually avoid Saturday like the plague. You can also go for Sunday, but once again, you always want to have a consistent upload schedule, and with 3 people working on the channel, I don't see why that would be an issue. But yeah, I basically start helping them out. I start giving them, I'm using Photoshop to give them better channel art, this and that. I contact a few of my artist buddies to draw us some assets, this and that. And basically, this person got really pissed off at me, kicked me out of the group, and then let the channel die immediately after. And then right after that thing died, I started that creepy reading, and you all know the rest. But basically, there's this one time where he wanted to ask that girlfriend, you know, for some art. And this person was kind of a douchebag. I'm not gonna lie. This person's like, I want art and I want it now. He's not paying for. I'm not paying for it. I just want it, and we're friends, and I know you'll give it to me. So she starts drawing him the picture, but it takes her like a few days, which is understandable, especially if you're a commission artist who is doing something as a request. But then he gets super pissed off at this girl for literally doing nothing but helping her out. And on top of that, she had every right to be mad at this dude. Because again, remember how I told you earlier, she's really just about getting all these other people to, you know, worship her. At this time, she didn't have 30 people hanging on to every single one of her words. So when push came to shove, this girl went up to Sawyer, who was being a complete douchebag, and basically blocked her on the basis that he didn't get art from her at the exact time he wanted to. She went up to him and was like, "I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry." I was like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? I mean, like, literally, I said that right after. I'm like, this dude was being a douchebag, and you apologized to him. And what? Why? She's like, I don't know, man. I just want all my friends. I'm going like, dude, you gotta have some personal, like, perseverance for yourself. You gotta be able to put your foot down. But again, there was that need to be submissive, and it was very much a defeated voice she used. It was very much I know I don't want to do this, but I'll do it anyway because it's for you. And fucking Lord, I just wanted to punch someone. I don't know if I wanted to punch Sawyer more for being a asshole to this person, or if I wanted to punch that girl more for being that girl, wanting to please everybody, yet not really doing enough to please anybody. And that's when we get back to our main story. This guy we're in a Skype call with, he's like, yeah, just tell her, because if she doesn't get out of there quickly, it's gonna end real badly for her. So me being, again, she always called me a good friend, and at the time, I was under the delusion that I was her good friend. So I messaged her up, I'm like, hey man, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but your boyfriend isn't who he says he is. Here's his real birthday, here's some actual images of him, here's this and that, and here's some evidence proving, and again, I had multiple evidence. I had the failed Kickstarter campaigns where everyone was complaining that he wasn't who he said he was. I had everything to prove. Skype conversations where he admitted that he wasn't the person he was. And yet, what this girl does is basically contact her boyfriend. Doesn't respond to me, by the way. She doesn't respond to me at all. She contacts her boyfriend and is like, hey man, this person is saying mean things and rude things about you, and I'm just a little worried. And basically, this person's like, yeah, don't believe him. He's just been mad at me ever since he called me out for called me out, and he's just trying to ruin our relationship. So she's like, okay, and then she blocked me. Despite me having mountains of evidence, screenshots, and literally everything you would need to prove within a court of law that this person who wasn't who he said he was, yeah. By the way, I should mention that the addendum to this story is that at the very end, like a few months later, he was supposed to meet up with this girl, and he never ended up doing that. Instead, he chose to go silent for about a month, claim his mom turned off his internet, and then broke up with her, and then told one of my friends that he can have her, like she is an object. And I should mention that she oftentimes tries to be treated like an object, so it's hard not to, it's hard to be mad at him because he's just treating her how like she wanted to be. But nonetheless, I got a hold of it, and it was kind of funny because, after that though, after I started doing my YouTube channel and doing my own thing, like a year later, I hear that from another personal friend of mine, who's a really good friend of mine, he's a gay friend of mine, that this girl actually started talking about me, and apparently she said that I was trying to get into her pants and break up her relationship, which is kind of funny because I am asexual and I'm not interested in relationships whatsoever. I don't like relationships, to be honest. I don't want children, I don't want sexual contact, and really that's what I think relationships for. They're basically for a extra interpersonal friendship. But this girl was claiming to all these other people that I tried to break them up because, and I quote, their boyfriend. And a lot of people now hate me, at least in my old friend crowd, at least a part of that old YouTube channel. A lot of them do hate me because they think that I'm just this genuinely terrible person who wants to break up relationships and take their women, and oh my god, it was fucking hilarious looking back at it. I actually had to go up to one of my friends, John again. I actually physically had to yell at him because I'm like, dude, you don't want this. He's like, but I can change her. I'm like, no, you can't. Stop it. Why not actually seek a meaningful relationship once you have a stable job and financial situation and, actually someone who has a personality? Because really, this girl, or at least that girl, has a personality that molds to the people she hangs out with. This could mean that she could be a complete prick because she's hanging out with a group of dicks, or she could be one of those overly spunky little memes girls who won't talk to you because it's not that she doesn't know what she's talking about, it's because she doesn't care enough about you to go beyond that face value meeting. She wants you to feel special because she's talking to you, but she doesn't want to make you feel too special because if you do, then she actually has to give a shit about your own problems. So if you guys ever met that girl, I mean, again, they're probably not as crazy as that one I met online, but if you ever met that girl, then you probably should tell me in the comment section below. Maybe I'll be able to share one of your stories, or maybe it'll give me more inspiration to do more of these school/ransom fitting music. Seriously, if you're that girl, just have a personality. Interact with people on a friendship level. Don't give a shit if they're a guy or a girl or whatever. Basically, all you need to care about is sharing your interests and caring about the interests of other people. With that being said, I'm your host, That Creepy Reading, sharing with you another interesting school story that was kind of fun to share, but I hope I didn't bore you with the 30-minute long story. If you're interested in more of these types of stories, I have one annotated above, and I also got one creepypasta I recently did, which was the three new horror stories, whatever. You probably would like it. Again, it's just Let's Not Meet stories. You seem to love it. I like it. It's fun to do, whatever. Now let's get into the nitty gritty. For the first hour after this recording, I will be on my Horror Amino app under the chat room, TCR's Creepy Corner. I'll have a link to the where you can download this app. It's a really fucking cool app. It's called Amino Horror, blah, blah, blah. Just go download it and join my chat if you want to chat with me about whatever. What? I don't give a fuck, Asians. Anyway, if you also want to support the show financially, you could also give me a one-time donation on PayPal, or you could simply just go on Patreon and donate $1. Really, every little bit helps. If you can't do that, just sending a like on a video or subscribing also helps out significantly. Really, it shares the video, shows that you're interactive, it makes YouTube promote it to more people, which generally means that I get a little bit more money, which will help me move out and get my own place where I can record shit, and it'll be awesome, and you guys will like it, and I will die in my little double-wide trailer in Detroit with all the people robbing me, and I will still record. I don't even give a shit if I'm using a phone. Either way,